So my final paper was on the communication style of the Czech Republic, and why I chose the Czech is because the summer before my freshman year, I played baseball in the Czech Republic. It was a baseball slash mission trip that I went on, and we played the national teams, and I went to Prague, and Prague was the coolest place I've ever been to, and I fell in love with it, and I'm trying to go back again. So I thought, well, looking back on my experiences, how did I interact with the people there? And so I set out to learn more about the Czechs and their history. They've always been under some type of rule. They had the early empires. They got taken over by empires multiple times, so they were always under different rules. And then the Germany took them over during World War II, and they were under heavy Nazi influence. And then they were on the wrong side of the Iron Curtain with the Soviet Union. So I think their history really affected their communication styles, because they are a high avoidance culture when it comes to uncertainty. They don't like uncertainty. They like structure. They hate authority, but they like structure in how they communicate, because they've had these confrontations and they've always fallen on the wrong side and gone through hardship as a result of their confrontations. So they built this communication style where they're very polite, they're humble people. Oh, overall, they're very nice people, but when they communicate, it's very formal. They're not very informal. They won't put out tons of emotion. They plan for they plan so there's no uncertainty. You're supposed to behave in a certain way when you communicate, and they keep to themselves. They're not very talkative. When I got on a bus in Prague, sit down next to the lady, you don't make small talk like you do here in America. Like, hello, how are you doing? But you just kind of sit down, you mind your own business, don't speak unless spoken to. And they use indirect communication. So, because they're trying to avoid confrontation, they really won't tell you how they feel. They'll kind of beat around the bush, and just my phone died mid-video, but back to the point. So they kind of beat around the bush, and they use a lot of non-verbals when it comes to communicating how they feel and what they truly mean. And they're not very direct. They don't come out and say what they just say stuff. They're very meticulous, and they like to think out what they're going to say, because they're trying to avoid this confrontation and uncertainty. So they're not going to just blatantly say stuff. It's, they're going to be polite. They're going to tell you kind of what you want to hear, but also try and get across what they want to say, but it's just not direct. So it's a formal, polite, indirect communication style. And they're just people who are very individualistic and keep to themselves. So, looking back, I would agree from my experience in the Czech with all the research that I've done. And I want to go back, because if you've never heard of Prague or even looked at Prague, it is so beautiful and it's so rich in history. And what's so cool is how much the history has affected their culture, because they're very individualistic people, and it's just they're fascinating, interesting people. They're super nice, and I've enjoyed learning about how they kind of communicate, and I hope I help teach you as well. So thank you very much, and it's been a good class.